This is my MK5 Golf GTI. For those of you new to the channel, I've had this for around 18 months, and in that time I've attempted to maintain and modify it on a budget. But aside from a few maintenance items and a few cosmetic mods to the exterior of the car, under the bonnet is pretty much exactly as I bought it. Unmapped, slow, and well, a little bit unhealthy. But all that changes today. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another video. Yes, you heard that correct. Today we are going to make the MK5 GTI fast. Now, I'll be completely honest, as with any old car, there is always problems, and there's a few little things that we need to sort out first. So the MK5 GTI has done 133,000 miles now, and I'll be completely honest, it's a little bit poorly. Now, I don't know if you heard that, like splutter on startup, but obviously that is not quite right. And if I'm being completely honest, that is just one of two major issues that we need to sort out today before we take the car to stage 2. Now, what I've very recently noticed with this car is at that little point before the turbo kicks in, I'm getting a little rattle from the bottom end. I don't know if any of you guys have had this before, but it almost feels like there's a lack of power. To, of course, preserve the life of the engine and make sure there's nothing untoward, I got it straight down to JBM. We plugged it into his computer and we took it on a little road test and found that the engine was throwing the timing. But what we think this could potentially be is the early signs of detonation, which is essentially where the air-fuel mixture in the combustion chamber of the piston isn't quite right. So what we think has happened is the injectors on this, or one or two or however many, could potentially be blocked, which is a pretty common problem. And also, this has never been carbon cleaned, so, well, there's probably loads of carbon deposits in the intake valves. So for those of you unfamiliar with carbon cleaning, it's essentially a case of taking the intake manifold off here, and then you can actually see the valves. Now, what you usually do to get those carbon cleaned is you'll use a technique called Walnut Blasting, where you'll essentially fire loads of tiny little walnut shells at the intake valves, and that just chips off any carbon deposits and you vacuum them out at the same time. But I don't have one of those things, and Joe at JBM does have one, so we are going to get him to do the carbon cleaning. And also, whilst we're there, we're going to take the injectors out, we're going to get them sent off for cleaning, and then hopefully that will solve any issues that we've been having with fueling and carbon buildups, yada yada yada. And that, for a car with 135,000 miles, is just preventive maintenance, really. These are things that I expected would need doing on this car, but then we can get on to the fun stuff. So whilst we are there and the manifold is off, I have been having an issue where if you absolutely welly it at 90 degrees, the temperature will start to drop, which I think is a thermostat problem. So whilst the manifold's off, we're going to change the thermostat, and whilst we are there, we're also going to put a Decat pipe on it. Exciting stuff. And then chuck on a stage 2 base map just until Joe has built his dyno, and then we can tune it up properly. And for those of you unfamiliar with tuning the MK5 GTI, a stage 1 is essentially just remapping the ECU. A stage 2 is essentially changing the intake and also having a free flow exhaust. So this one also already has a 2.5-inch Miltech catback, and we just need to couple that up with a Decat pipe on the front here. Ideally, we would change the intercooler here for an S3 intercooler. We are coming up to winter time, so that's probably going to be a job for the summer for me. But alas, that is not stuff I can do on the driveway, and I'm going to work with Joe, get some content with him whilst at his unit, and, well, just take it from there. So first things first, we'll get a few shots of the Miltech before the Decat goes on, so you can hear what a 2.75 catback non-resonated Miltech exhaust sounds like, and then we'll head off to Joe. So yeah, this is the exhaust. Alright, let's get to the good stuff. am now here at JBM Performance, JBM Automotive, in his nice fancy new premises. We've already got the Golf inside. Joe and Jack are there working on it right now because they reckon they can get that intake manifold off in about 20 minutes. So what we are doing is we have got the camera set up there and we are going to see if they can do it in the time they said. So, hey Jack, hey Joe. No pressure, no pressure at all. We are set up and I'm going to leave them to it and see if they can smash it out and get it done. And off we go. So actually I was astonished at how quickly they managed to get this done. I imagine it would have taken me ages to do this on the drive. I'd have probably got there in the end, but Jesus, the rate that these guys can get this off is just crazy. And out it comes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Done in just over 11 minutes. So the lads have finished, and no word of a lie, 11 minutes start to finish, and this is what we are left with. So have we got shitloads of carbon? Oh my. Of course. Shit. They are pretty badly gunked up, so it's a good job that we're going to get them out and get them walnut blasted. But yeah, I think next is injectors out, right? Yep, sure is. And there's not too much to see here, just Jack trying to pull the injector out, which was a bit stuck, but believe me, he got there in the end. But once they were all out, they're now ready to be sent off down to Artec or the fuel injector clinic to get completely refurbished with all new seals, yada yada yada. We've just taken the, what are they called, Joe? The runner flap guides out of there and put them over on the bench here. And well, just look at how thick the carbon is on there. So I am going to do a job and I'm going to take these home and get these cleaned up and bring them back when we come to, well, refit the injectors. And so we leave Joe and Jack at JBM with the Golf looking a bit poorly. The injectors are about to be sent off to Artec, which should go tomorrow, and we should probably get them back freshly cleaned and sealed up within the next week. So we'll check back in after a few more sleeps and see how it's going. So in the meantime, I've got to clean up these parts. I didn't even mind doing this because just, well, look how satisfying this is. But those cooling vanes are only half the battle, and I've still got to clean up the manifold and the little runner flaps that are controlled by a motor and get all the carbon deposits off them. So you can just see me going around with a bit of cleaner here and, well, a rag and a pick and just getting out all of the carbon deposits from where the gasket sits. And then same again with the runner flaps. You can see with the little pick here just all the stuff that's coming off it. Another kind of satisfying job, but, well, I scratched away with it all until it looks like this one. And the only thing left to do is just put it all back together and make sure it all moves nice and freely with a nice fresh gasket. And the lads at JBM kindly got some footage of the walnut blasting process. It's essentially loads of tiny little walnut shells blasted through the silver gun and then sucked out by the red vacuum. You can see the mess that it makes here, so it's vital to get it all vacuumed up before you start the car up and put everything back together, because you don't want any of that in your valves. But you'll see the end result in a moment and you'll see it looks a damn sight better than it did before. And just look how much better those valves look compared to the other ones. It just makes a world of difference. Unfortunately, the lads didn't get a chance to film the Decat pipe being fitted or the thermostat, so this is just Jack putting everything back together after those bits were done, ready for me to collect the day after.
One eternity later.
So I am back at JBM. It has been 2 long weeks of anticipation whilst the injectors have been getting sent off, but they are now redone and back in the car. The car is here ready to be collected, and just to summarize, so there has been a manifold off, the runners out and cleaned, the thermostat has been changed, there is now a Decat downpipe on the car, and Joe is about to just chuck on the base map to map out the engine management light whilst he is building his dyno, and once the dyno's built we'll come back and get it tuned up on stage 2.
But wait a minute. Didn't you say at the start of the video we were going to go to stage 2 in this video?
Yes I did. What I didn't realise at the start of this video is that the base map was not actually a flash and dash stage 2 map, because Joe tunes every single one of these cars on the dyno or on a case-by-case basis. Not like 150 quid remaps where they just flash a generic file onto your car and away you go. This is all custom done to suit the car. So because of that, I thought for the sake of another month, let's wait until Joe's actually built his dyno, and then we can see what it's like to actually tune the car on the dyno, and we can almost have a homage back to about a year and a half ago when I first got the car and we tuned it, or we put it on his dyno at his old premises. So sorry that you're not going to get to see it in this video, but I think it'll be worth the wait when it does happen in another one shortly down the line. Just to cheer you all up after that horrible news though, here's what the car sounds like with the new Decat exhaust fitted. Whoa. Woo. Go on, Joe, give us a rev. Yeah. The final thing that's left to do is just plug the car into BCDS or VAGCOM and map out the engine management light. And whilst Joe does that, I'll just fix the GTI badge, which had a small casualty, so that'll be on in 3, 2, 1. And the final thing, the final piece of the puzzle, is to just get it out on a road test. So I'm now in the car with Joe, just giving it its road test, and I think, according to Joe, it looks a hell of a lot better than it was. Sure. So we're not pulling timing anymore, maybe a slight bit from bad fuel.
Which is a bit, yeah. You'd expect a couple of degrees or so here and there with shit fuel in it, but on the whole, it's not pulling 10 degrees across the board anymore, which is nice. So I suspect it was down to injector flow rating differences, possibly carbon buildup on the valves as well. But yeah, it certainly seems a million times better. So
excellent
put some
news.
good fuel in it and we'll tune it and see what we can get.
Yeah, so now I guess the next step is just wait for Joe to finish his dyno, get it on, and then get it up to stage 2. But for now, all seems well. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.